Hey everyone, it's Kelly. I am back today with a new 12 by 12 scrapbook layout for the Cut Shop, and I'm going to be using the Snow Day cut file. This is actually a background cut file, but I'm just going to use individual snowflakes for my layout, and I'm just going to go ahead and jump straight into the process video of this layout. I don't have a Cricut Design Space tutorial for this video because I didn't really do anything extra fancy. I just sliced out one of the snowflakes from that cut file set and then resized it multiple times and cut it in white cardstock and vellum. So I was showing you the photo just a few seconds ago, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the video. But this pattern paper, I found this in my stash. I've been going through a D-stash, just pulling things out that I know that I'm not going to use. I do that especially when I'm coming upon a new holiday or season, so Halloween for instance, and then Christmas. I'll go through everything that I have, pull out stuff that I know that I won't use, and I just like to do that because it kind of gives me an idea of what I actually have in my stash, and things like this will jump out at me that I have forgotten that I had. So I found this pattern paper and I absolutely loved it. I wanted to use it, and I do want to apply some mixed media to the background. So I did place some white gesso onto the background, and I have a love-hate relationship with white gesso. I have found that if I try to put it directly onto the background, so if I just take the bottle and squirt some on the background and then take my fingers to try to smudge it around, I have a really hard time making it look even. I feel like it's really bright right in the area that I applied it to the cardstock or to the pattern paper, and then it just doesn't look like I want it to. It doesn't look as faded. So I found that if I apply it to that little rubber spatula tool that I have, and that is a Martha Stewart spatula that I found at Michael's a long time ago, I just place it onto that spatula, and then you either use the spatula to smear it onto the paper, or I'll just take my fingers and just pick up a little bit off the spatula and then apply it with my fingers to the background. And I found that that helps me get a little bit more even coverage when I'm applying the white gesso. The embellishments that I'm going to be using for this layout are a lot of the Snow and Cocoa collection. So that's how I went about choosing the colors for the mixed media. I grabbed two different pink sprays from Shimmers, and then I'm also going to bring in this blue shimmer spray also, and I can't think of the names offhand. So if you're interested in the exact colors that I used, please just leave a comment below and I will check them for you and get back with you on that. I tried to use the nozzle to add some splatters to the background, but I couldn't get them to go onto the background the way that I wanted. So I just grabbed a paintbrush and just dunked the brush right down into the bottle and then added the splatters. And that worked a lot better than trying to use the nozzle. The nozzle had a little bit of a curve to it, so the splatters weren't going in the area that I wanted them to. So using the paintbrush gave me a little bit more control. So at this point, I'm going to stop with the mixed media. I want to bring the elements that I'm going to use on the layout, so some of the embellishments in the cut files, and actually place them onto this background to see if I need to add any more mixed media, or just to get an idea of how much coverage I have with the mixed media. And it was at this point that I realized that I did not have enough of those snowflakes cut. So in just a moment, I am going to cut a bunch more of those snowflakes. I actually end up cutting, I would say that it ends up being almost a full 12 by 12 white cardstock sheet of those snowflakes, just in lots of random sizes. And I'm going to layer them together and kind of bulk up those corner areas where I have placed that mixed media. And after I had those extra snowflakes cut, I decided that I needed to add a little bit more blue on the background. I was worried that once I had the snowflakes positioned, that it would cover up a large majority of that blue spray. I did want the mixed media portion to be mainly pink because there's already so much blue happening with the pattern paper that I'm using for my background. But I did want to make sure that you could see just little hints of that blue kind of peeking out from behind the snowflakes. I feel like it just gives it a little bit more depth and a little bit more interest when you can kind of mix and match those mixed media colors. So there's a lot of back and forth towards the beginning of this process video when it comes to the mixed media, because I was trying to decide if I had enough color, if I didn't have enough color. That's one thing that I tend to do when it comes to adding mixed media to my backgrounds, is I tend to go overboard. I tend to add too much and then I don't like it, so I have to try to find a way to cover it up, or I have to start over. But I think that's part of the fun. I feel like every time that I apply color to the background or do mixed media on a background, that I really learn something. And whether it's color combination, or whether it's that I went overboard, or just anything in general, I just really feel like it's a learning process, and that each time it gets a little bit easier, each time it gets a little bit better. So if you are interested in mixed media, but you're just really unsure, just dive in. The worst thing that can happen is that you have to start over. That's the very worst thing that can happen. But you may find that you really, really like it. And that's something that I have found, is that I really, really enjoy this portion of scrapbooking. I really enjoy adding color. I just feel like it changes the background completely when you add just a little bit of color. I mean, just look at the difference with those snowflakes. You can just really see that color coming out from behind them. And I actually really love how this layout turns out. And you can see now that I've really added a lot of snowflakes. And I am going to take just a little dot of liquid adhesive and just add it to the very center of those snowflakes, because I did want the snowflakes to curl up a little bit on the edges to add some dimension and to add some texture. And I'm going to go around with my sewing machine. I'm going to stitch a circle through all of those snowflakes just to make sure that they really are stuck down to the background and I don't have to worry about them falling off later on once I get them into a page protector. So let's talk a little bit about the photo that I'm going to be using. I printed this photo as a 3.5 by 3.5 inch square, and then I used one of my stitched circle dies to cut out that photo into a circular shape. I felt like it fit the theme of the layout with the circle in the center of the background paper. And this photo was taken last year. We had a huge snowstorm in December. I think it dropped like 16 inches in a matter of a few hours. It was crazy amount of snow. And Aiden really enjoys playing in the snow. He does not have any siblings. If you follow my channel, you know he's an only child. So when he plays in the snow, that means I play in the snow. And it was so much fun. The snow was packing snow, so we were able to make snowballs and throw them at each other. And the hat that he has on actually has a beard attached to it. I picked it up at a craft show, I think that same winter, and it's a knitted hat and it has a knitted beard on it also. It kind of looks like a scarf in this photo because it's so caked with snow, because he had been rolling around in it and we had been throwing snow at each other. And I just loved his expression. He kind of plopped down into a pile of snow. We had been shoveling and he's squinting his eyes because it was snowing hard, and there's little snow flakes on his face because it was still coming down pretty hard. And I just thought it was such a sweet photo. His cheeks are all red and rosy and I just love it. I actually included it in my December daily last year, but I love the photo so much that I felt that it was worth scrapping it a second time. So getting back to the layout, there I was showing you that I did add some stitching around that circle, and I used silver metallic thread in my sewing machine to add that stitching. And I did add a few snowflake die cuts and stickers. Those snowflake die cuts and stickers are either from the Crate Paper Snow and Cocoa collection, or they are from an older Hip Kit Club kit. And I'm going to use the puffy stickers from Crate Paper Snow and Cocoa to add my title. And I think they say Bright and Beautiful Winter is the title that I use for the layout. And then I'm going to add those cute little mittens. I thought those were adorable, and I liked the extra pop of pink that they brought to the layout. So I used mainly liquid adhesive to adhere everything to the background, but there were a few of the die cuts and stickers that I wanted to add some dimension. And I had purchased these glue dots. I think I purchased them at Walmart. They're Elmer's brand. And I wasn't paying super close attention when I grabbed the box off the shelf. I thought they were just normal flat glue dots, but when I got home and opened them up, they are dimensional. And it does say pop up on the box. I just wasn't paying attention when I grabbed them off the shelf. And I really like them. It was a really pleasant surprise. They kind of kill two birds with one stone. They work just like a glue dot, but they add dimension also. So keep your eye out for that if that's something that you would be interested in purchasing. They work fantastic. So it's at this point that I'm happy with the embellishing. That's all that I'm going to add to the layout. And I decide that I want to add some more splatters to the background. So I'm going to grab all three of the Shimmer's Mists that I used to create the mixed media behind the snowflakes. And I'm just going to use a paintbrush and dip it straight down into the bottle and add splatters above the photo and just kind of inside that blue circle, the large blue circle on the background. And it was at this point that I thought that I might have ruined the layout. I tend to go overboard, as I mentioned, and I thought that I added way too many splatters. But in the end, I actually end up being very happy with it. I like the color that it brings, and I'm happy that I stopped when I did. I'm also going to add some white splatters because he is in the snow, so I wanted to add a little bit of a snowflake look to the background. So I just take white acrylic paint and I'm just going to water it down. And again, just using a paintbrush, I'm going to add some splatters onto the background. Once I have those white paint splatters applied to the background, the only thing left is to add the date, and I am going to use a Heidi Swap roller date stamp and some black Close to My Heart ink, and I'm just going to add the date right underneath the word winter. I did have to lift up one of the vellum snowflakes to kind of sneak that stamp down in there, but it all works out perfectly in the end. And here are the close-ups. I really like this layout. I love the color scheme. The pinks and the blues are just something that I really enjoy using. And I really encourage you to head over to the Cut Shop so that way you can check out all of the cut files that are available. I will make sure to link to it in the description below. As always, I want to thank you so much for watching, and I will be back again soon with a new layout and process video.